Next, let's take a look at the control camera behavior. But before we do, we kind of have to understand where the camera is and what it's looking at. Well, if you look at the stage here and you kind of see these outline or these bars, this is essentially what our camera sees. If I hit play, we have nothing inside our scene, but we can see from one end to the next from top to bottom. So this is kind of where our camera is looking. And this is also how big our scene is. So essentially the size of our scene is exactly the same size as what the camera can see, which makes sense, but it'll make a lot more sense in a moment here. Now before we start using this control camera attribute, we have to look at something else, which is under this Scene tab we see here in the inspector. Right now, by default, we're set to the Game tab. Let's go ahead and click on the Scene tab, and you can see the scene has a specific size. Now, if you remember from an earlier video, I said that I'm working with an iPad landscape stage, and that's going to be something like 1024 by 768. So if we take a look at our scene size, we can see it is exactly 1024 by 768. But we can change this. Even though our camera will remain at 1024 by 768, I can make the width of my scene much longer. So instead of 1024 pixels, let's just go ahead and type in 4000. And for the height, we'll just keep it at that. So let's jump back into our initial scene here. Let's go back to our game attributes, and let's create a brand new actor. So I'm going to drag actor 1 here inside our scene. Now you'll notice that everything looks a little bit squashed. This is something you may or may not see. This is actually a bug inside GameSalad. So you notice that we started with a scene that was 1024 pixels and we made it to 4000, and we kind of don't see what's going on here. So to kind of adjust this bug, although there's nothing to worry about here, you can go back to the home and then go back to scene 1, and then you'll notice now it's representing the way it should be. We have our 1024 pixel area here, and now we've extended that almost 4 times all the way over here. So if you see something that happens like that, don't worry, it's just a bug inside GameSalad, and it's just a refresh issue that we can go back to the home and then click on a scene again. So we have a single actor inside our stage here. And what we want to do is we want to move that actor from left to right, I should say. So in an earlier video we saw that we can use the accelerate behavior. So I'll just double click on actor 1 and we will drag and drop accelerate. And we're going to accelerate moving in the right direction, and we'll set this to about 300, and then we'll just hit preview. So what happens? The actor basically moves off camera. Now because we created more scene, all of this scene over here, you can see the actor is continuing kind of in this scene space, but he moves off camera, and that's where this control camera attribute comes in. There are a few more things I want to set up so we can actually see what we're doing here. And those are kind of just some dummy objects. So let's create another actor, and I'm going to bring it down here. And you can see if I click on that actor, I can grab one of these little dots and stretch that actor out. So basically what I want to do is create a very, very basic rudimentary level quickly, because if we were just having our actor move across the scene in black space and it was bringing the camera along with it, which is what the control camera behavior does, if we were just moving in black space we wouldn't see anything. So we can just use this actor 2 to kind of just create all these interesting little artifacts. I can hold the Alt key, click and drag on that actor to duplicate it. So I'm just duplicating this actor a few times. Again, you can grab those handles and stretch it up and duplicate it. And then just make sure that we have enough objects in our scene so that we can see things as they're moving along. So you can see quickly, like as if you're setting up a Mario or platformer, you can really make something happen quickly, and then you can add in your own artwork later. So again, now you can see we've created this little basic level as we scroll across here. And again, if I hit preview, you can see our actor moves across and he just travels off into the distance. And our camera sits exactly where it always sits, right here in the beginning. So this is where the control camera comes in. We're going to go back to actor 1, double click on it, and we're going to add the control camera behavior to actor 1. So I'll click and drag control camera and drop it in there. And that's it. There's nothing to change here. There's no attributes or settings to adjust. So if I hit preview, now you can see our actor moves across the scene, and then boom, it starts pushing the camera along with it, and you can see until we get to the end of our scene, that's what happens. So just previewing that one more time. So this is all very useful, but look what's happening. Our actor, if I reset this a few times, is moving, and only when he kind of hits the end of the camera does he start to move the camera along, as if the camera is this box and our actor is now pushing the camera along. And that's exactly what that is. If we go back to this area, you can see that we have this bounding box. Now, maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want the actor to sail across here, and then when he hits the edge here, he starts pushing the camera over. But maybe you want the camera to move with the character. And in most platformers, where you kind of see a little character running across the stage here, the camera follows that character exactly in the same time. So the way that we adjust this is, you notice at the very top left here, we have this camera icon next to the cursor icon. If we click on that, we can essentially take the bounding box of the camera and we can shorten it. So you can see I can take this all the way down to 0 in this direction and all the way down to 0 in this direction. And now if I preview, you can go back to the cursor to undo that. Or not to undo it, but to remove those bounding areas. Now if I hit preview, because we've squished that bounding area down to the actor, you can see that right away the camera is moving exactly in sync with the actor. So let's take a look at that one more time. Again, I'm going to click on this camera icon and I'm going to grab these little kind of bounding areas. Now let's say you want the character, our actor, this little white block, to be able to move a little bit before it adjusts the camera. Well, you can set this up to kind of any distance from the actor you want. You can bring it all the way to the camera end, or you can bring it all the way into the center of the actor, or you can give it a little bit of play left or right. So you'll see this will move a little bit before the camera starts to move. And there we go. Now we're pushing it over. So a little bit of movement and then the camera moves. A little bit of movement and then the camera moves. So to practice this, you're going to have to know how to take an actor. You're going to have to be able to make that actor move somehow, either with accelerate or the change velocity behaviors that we learned in earlier videos. And you're also going to need to know how to increase your scene size so that the camera can actually move across a scene bigger than the camera is itself. So take a moment to practice all of that, and that'll make for some fun levels later on when you start creating these kind of platformer games.